Out of all the different voting blocks here in the United States over the years, only one has been consistent with which party they overwhelmingly support. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is white evangelicals. White evangelicals, that voting bloc, has always been a consistent Republican stronghold. That is up until about a couple days ago. You see, back in March, these white evangelicals, the people who think they are more religious than anybody, 80% of them said Donald Trump is our guy. That's the one who's most like us or most fitting with our religion. Either way, 80% of them said, yeah, he's our guy. 2 months later, only 65% were willing to say that. This man lost 15% of the white evangelical vote in 2 months. And this was before, by the way, all of the civil unrest and the police brutality that we have seen, and Donald Trump's ridiculous photo op where he showed that he doesn't know how to hold a Bible. Because he's never held one, folks. And I think evangelicals are going to lose even more support from him after that. But according to this poll, the reason for the drop in support was because of his response to the pandemic. Because these evangelicals do, to a degree, think that they're living their best life for Christ. They think they're the ones following the Bible. They think they're the ones who care about each other and all of that and care about human life, even though they really, really don't. But they saw that Donald Trump does not. And he's not even pretending to. You know, when we had Republicans calling for us to sacrifice our grandparents to the coronavirus just to kickstart the economy, that resonated with a lot of people in a bad way. They weren't happy with it. They didn't like that thought. And that's why elderly voters are also now going for Joe Biden instead of Donald Trump, because the elderly voters were also a solid Republican group. And now they're not. Now, I'm not saying the evangelical voters are going to suddenly all become Democrats. They're not. And to be perfectly honest, we don't want them. Okay, you're all a bunch of liars and hypocrites. You can stay with the Republicans. They absolutely do fit in with your beliefs. But what is going to happen, again, is these people are not going to become Democrats. What they're going to become is non-voters, at least for the year 2020. And that's what's going to hurt Trump the most. That's his biggest problem this year, is not necessarily the flip voters, getting people who voted for Trump 2016 to vote for Biden 2020. What's going to hurt him is the people who voted for Trump in 2016 and then stayed home in 2020. And that's what these evangelicals right now are most likely to do. Not a majority of them by any stretch of the imagination, but this 15% that he just lost, they're not voting for Democrats. They're simply not going to vote. And that is going to cost him dearly, especially in those Bible Belt swing states that could go either way. A 15% dip in evangelical support in one of those states, and suddenly that's a blue state, easily. And Republicans, as I've repeatedly mentioned, they are freaking out because they are watching the polls. They have people that work for them where their job is just to watch and analyze the polls. And they see all this, and it terrifies them because Trump's not the only Republican on the ballot this year. No. You have 26 Republican senators, I believe, 24 or 26, I forget. Either way, on the ballot in various states throughout the country. Control of the Senate is up for grabs. And Republicans know that if Trump can't perform at the top of the ticket, then every Republican on that ballot beneath him is in trouble as well.